decided to crush on me. I think I just wish I could slap Mojang in the face if they were a person. I wish I could just turn them into one and then slap them as hard as I can. I do not do good at this type of thing. I just now started? No, I didn't. I'm in for a few, like, 30 seconds. Okay. I'm playing. There we go, everyone. I got the music working. Didn't create the world. Gotta do that all again. Survive with mods. I need to make the thing less annoying. Sorry it kicked off earlier, on last stream. Don't know why it was like that. No cheats. Did choosing one setting to do that? Or did one of these options I changed? Soundscapes, inventory, actions. Alright, 15 here, I guess. All the wall. The furniture. Basic machinery. Okay. Celebration foods. Food concrete. Computers. Dragonfire. Essentials. Furniture. Good. And now gravestones, of course. Hiker's friend. So magic spells. Naturalist. Oh, I had the Wolf Continent instead. More TNT. naturalist, plains, realism, security vaults, Sonic add-on, Spark pets and portals, Tinker's construct, and world utilities. Now let me make sure that, good, that's on top. Right. Oh, that's one. Nope. Another reason. Why it doesn't enable commands, when I unlock. Cross my fingers Minecraft doesn't screw up again. PlayStation, you better not steal me wrong. Come on. Hmm? Hopefully I don't. I like how it looks like I'm actually looking at a real life map. Take half? No, there ain't no half. No, there. Right, now for the books that can be placed. You need to find a good spot to place. Over here looks good. Hot deposit? Hey, Brown, you actually some things around Hmm. Hmm. gravestone pointer. Whoa. They give you shulker boxes? Nope, it's not shulker box. Whoa, that's not what I had. Not my stuff. Huh. Wasn't my grave? No. No. Hell's my two items. They probably do that for the two grave wobblers. Okay, I'm back.
I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna try to boot it.
I'm back.
Please, for the love of hell, work. Oh, good, it's going. It's still doing it. You've got to be joking, dude. Oh my god. Oh, macOS on a Steam Deck. It's booting. Oh, okay. So what I did, I'll explain in a second. This is amazing. Look at that, macOS on a Steam Deck. The Apple logo. That's something that's very strange to see on here. So apparently, one file from the guide, the Ryzen fix, actually needed the original version that it was forked from. Oh, look at it, macOS utility.
Oh, come on, it died?
Curious,
No.
do we get touchscreen support? No. We'll probably want to erase the entire Windows installation on here. Let's nuke it. We'll call it StackOS, created by Steam Jobs. Let's just set it to that. Well, there goes my Windows installation. Hopefully I won't need that. Alright, cool. Let's get out of disk utility. I'm just going to click reinstall macOS and see what happens. Click here to continue. Can we rotate this a little bit? Just like, there we go. Now you can see what I'm doing. Oh, this is stupid. Alright, continue. Yeah, I agree too. Terms of service. Sure. Yeah, I didn't Hackintosh my Steam Deck. Yep, and we'll choose StackOS and install. Oh my god.
I'm going to give you half an hour because
What
we're
am I
going
going
to
to do
take
with
like half an hour
macOS
before
on the
bed.
Steam Deck?
Okay. Ooh, this looks good.
Okay, so when I say it's bedtime, it's
Any
bedtime.
drivers.
Okay.
I'm tempted to try to install Logic on here.
That's good.
Like a USB sound card or something.
I like it.
I'm having to hold my mouse. I have to move it like this so it moves in the correct direction.
By the way, at my house, I normally take like a 10 milligram normally.
Oh, it turned off. It's rebooting. macOS.
Hey, Grandpa, was that a 10 milligram?
Just doing it. Is it about to boot back into the installer again? What does that say now? Failed to open that. Well, hopefully it doesn't need whatever that is. I can't read it from this distance. Been sitting on whatever this is for a while. All right, I'm turning it off. It's taking too long. I'm booting back into the BIOS. Is it actually booting? Oh, it's in macOS recovery. I've already done this part. Let's do it again. Maybe it won't crash this time.
My God, are you kidding me?
I realized that I've made a kind of large mistake, so let's give this another try. I'm just going to turn it on. I've also made drastic changes to my plist file if I can't remember. Please work. Oh, I think it's boot looping now. Okay, that's not good. Yeah, it's boot looping.
Hey, Grandpa.
Again, I'm going to go insane. I'm doing this for like 10 hours straight, I think. Install and agree, yes. All right, I'm just going to sit here with every single limb of my body crossed. Please do not get stuck in that
Was
one
that
spot.
a 10 milligram?
For 6 hours.
Was that a 10 milligram?
You would not. It's getting stuck there.
Just so you know, that's what I normally take
going to
at
sleep.
night.
All right, I put Big Sur on here
It
now
was?
because that's the one that they said works.
Aw.
It's an offline installer.
I was hoping to have another
Downloaded
one.
an ISO file. I extracted
Aw,
the
that
contents
is so
of it from
good.
Transmac, and I put them in the HFS partition that it created. Oh, it's booting! I have low hopes this is going to work, though, because this is not exactly the correct way to do it. All right, let's see if this works. I'm just going to click on this. Oh. Well, that was very short-lived. I might be kind of stupid, but it's also kind of late, and my brain isn't working as well as it should. So I have another idea. I have created an entire macOS VM running Catalina. Am I breaking terms of service? Probably. Okay, we've made it into macOS. Now we just have to go through the entire making the installer thing, but in macOS now. I'll just pull up the guide in the browser on here. I don't think this is what this is supposed to look like. Oh, it's freaking out a little bit. There we
Hey,
go.
Grandpa, do you have like
Here, so I can copy and
gummies?
paste
Like
it.
actual
Not
gummies?
scrolling right. Oh, I didn't click getting started. There it is. macOS Big Sur. Get. Do you want to download? Yes. Where is it putting it? 1 hour remaining. All right. Well, I'm just gonna go to sleep. Okay, the download is finished. I've plugged my USB drive in, and I'm gonna format it. There. Next, run the create install media command provided by Apple. Copying the disk. Good. So it's working. I created an entire macOS VM just to make this work. It's done. Okay, now we have to make the EFI folder again. I just downloaded it, so hopefully I'm not angering a bunch of Hackintosh people. I don't know what I'm doing, and I've been working on this video for like an entire week, so. And then we got the mount EFI thing. We have to open up this and run this. And it doesn't work. Cannot be opened because it's an open anyway. Open. Now it's working. I'm assuming that 2 is the one we want. Yeah, I think that worked. All right, let's put the EFI folder in there. Bloop, we did it. Now I could get this out of here. Eject. Okay, I've got it plugged in. I'm going to boot into boot mode. Oh, it's booting. It's booting. And we have a mouse.
Do you have any like regular gummies?
As long as it works, I'll be happy.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
talking about like
Logic
food
on here,
gummies.
maybe. All right, macOS recovery.
I just
Now,
thought
if
you might
click
have
this,
some
will
that
it
would be
work?
similar to those,
Okay.
because those are real good.
Continue. I am absolutely breaking the terms of service, but I agree, sure, because I want it to do it. And then we already have our StackOS drive, and it's doing it. macOS is finally installing on the Steam Deck. This is like installing macOS on a shoe. Why would you do that? I don't know. Oh, cool. We're going to have a literal brick. I'm sitting here rocking back and forth like I'm in an insane asylum because I feel insane right now. I don't know if it's booting or just sitting there, but it's kind of not doing anything. I don't know how long it needs to start up, but maybe I'll just turn it off and turn it back on. Let's just see if it works a second. Doug.
Customize car insurance with Liberty Mutual. Customize. And then they wake up.
And you have the stream every night?
Yeah, every night.
I see.
Only pay for what you need.
It's working. I sat here for 30 minutes just waiting for it. I guess it's fine. macOS on a Steam Deck. That's. Oh, I just hit something. That's great. Set up our device. Can I have the U for United States? Oh, it's a little bit slow. Oh, boy. All right. United States. Continue. Not now. How do you connect? My computer does not connect to the internet. Continue. Your Mac isn't connected to the internet. I don't care. This isn't a Mac. Does it have to be connected to the internet to continue? No, it's just frozen now. Okay. I love me some terms and conditions. I've been breaking a ton of terms and conditions all day today. Agree. Create a computer account. Steam jobs. Password brick. That's what this thing is. Analytics. Do I have to? Oh, good. It's off by default. Not like it's sharing analytics anyway. This thing is never going to connect to the internet. Siri. You don't need anything bogging down the system resources more than it is. Continue. Choose your look. Dark mode. Off. Oh, I just dropped my keyboard. I was so excited. I dropped my keyboard. Okay. Something snapped off of it. The batteries fell out. Okay. Well, we got macOS on the Steam Deck. I don't know what I'm going to do with it now, but it's on there. Can I run Logic on here? Hold on, let me eject the USB and put a very legally obtained version of Logic on here. I just now realized I think it took like an actual century for the dock to load down here. Oh, look at that. Ooh. It's actually quite smooth. This Steam controller. It's showing up as like a modem or something. What? Oh, that's funny. What happens if I press buttons on it? Can I like binary enter information? Okay, well, let's launch some things. Can you game on the Steam Deck running macOS? Mac chess. Playing chess on the Steam Deck sideways. Here we go. Oh, that's not exactly the performance I was expecting. Okay, can we beat the computer? I don't even know what difficulty this is. Oh my god, it's taking ages to calculate its moves. I'm also not great at chess. Get pawned. Alright, I ate its knight. Now what other moves does it have? I'm bad at chess, and also it's very hard to play this sideways with a laggy mouse that's too far away from its receiver, and the fact that this thing is running at like 3 frames per second. Interesting move. I'm gonna eat your pawn because I can. Yum, 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 yum. Yep, I was expecting that. I don't have any more knights. Wait, where's my other rook? Oh, their knight ate it. Can this go diagonal? Can I just... Yeah, it's gonna... Yeah, there we go. This is the worst playthrough of chess I think anyone has ever seen in the entire history of the universe. All right, we have unlimited pawns, a rook, a bishop, another bishop. All right, I'm gonna do this. Computer wasn't expecting that, was it? Oh God, I'm in check now. You can't get me... Oh boy. Is that their queen? Yeah, I'm in check again. Did I lose? Oh cool, I did that French move that I forgot. Oh, it still didn't matter. Did I lose now? Oh wait, this is my bishop. It's gonna gobble that up. Stop eating me! Oh, it's gross. Alright, now I've certainly lost, right? Yep. Alright, worst game of chess ever. But we gamed on the Steam Deck running macOS. Now let's make music on it. Alright, I put some files on my USB stick. It's got a very legally obtained version of Logic and a song I made like 5 years ago in 5/4 time. Let's see if it... God damn it. I'm on 11.7. and I need 13.5. All right, well, let me acquire an older version. All right, another legally obtained copy of Logic Pro. This one's 10.8.1 instead of 11 point whatever that was. Let's see if this one works. What? Also 13. Okay, 10.7. Oh, for the love of hell, man. What? Okay, an even older version of it is transferring. 10.5.1. Finally, man. All right, let's open it. Please open. Oh, it's freaking launching. Please select an audio driver. All right, let me plug my Focusrite into this. Hang on. Oh, I just blue screened my computer by unplugging my Focusrite. All right, I've unblue screened my computer. I've plugged in my Focusrite sound card, and we sadly have to use this freaking thing. So I have to like really weirdly stretch across here to put stuff. I just like launched my song into it now. Oh, it's working. Oh, that was fast. Where are the settings? Because I probably need to make sure the audio driver is working. Oh, good. Scarlett 4i4 USB. All right, I'm gonna press play. Did it crash? It's apparently playing. No, that doesn't work. Oh, it let me click it. Oh, I didn't even realize that. Okay, apply. All right, I'm pressing play. It's working. Can't see what it's doing, but it's working. Oh my god. We got Logic Pro running on a Steam Deck. This is an old version of Uneasy Energy that you can find on my second album, Spiraling, by the way. We've successfully installed macOS on a Steam Deck and then ran Logic Pro on it and played a song of mine. What an accomplishment. I just kind of wanted to see if this would work with my keyboard as well. Oh, it works! Oh! Alright, well that about wraps this insanity up. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and if you would like to see more, subscribe. And thank you for watching.
I bought every single MacBook ever. My bank account hates me. My parents are thoroughly unimpressed. But you're about to see for the first time ever how Apple has managed to turn the Mac from a laughingstock to, for a lot of people, what is the most desirable computer on the planet. And it started in 1989. This was a time when the entire concept of a laptop was still a new one. And so what we actually have here is more accurately a computer that happens to be portable. Just about. But make no mistake, the Macintosh Portable was impressive because it was powered by Motorola's first ever widely produced processor, the Motorola 68000 at 16 megahertz, which was a full-on desktop-class chip now made workable on the go. Oh. I can't believe this thing was once a laptop. It's like carrying your entire suitcase when you go on holiday. It actually is the luggage. Unbelievable. Press this down to open it up. I was trying to have a nice little cozy, comfortable typing experience. My goodness. I mean, to be fair to them, the keyboard feels fantastic. Super satisfying. Oh yeah, completely forgot. Early computers used trackballs instead of trackpads to control your pointer. Let's see if this thing even turns on. Wow. Oh, also, check this out. It is shockingly repairable. Just take the back off and change the parts you want to change. Quite literally, that's the battery. I'll give Apple this. For a machine that's 35 years old, I kind of like it. Aesthetically, it holds up far better than I was expecting. The crown jewel here is this display. It's a super expensive type of screen called an active matrix panel, which basically means that every single pixel is attached to its own transistor, which actively uses power to maintain that pixel's current on or off state. It's very battery intensive, but the benefit is that it can deliver extreme responsiveness and sharpness versus the passive matrix displays that other computers are using. But there was a price to pay for tech like this. In fact, $18,000 in today's money. Which is why it's not exactly surprising that Apple only sold these in the tens of thousands. So, 2 years later, Apple took another stab at it. They launched a whole lineup of laptops, the PowerBook 100, 140, and 170. And you might notice something about this 100 in particular. It actually looks like a laptop. Apple realized from their Macintosh Portable that they didn't exactly have the most experience building compact machines. So this time around, they actually hired in Sony to do the manufacturing, which is weird to think about because there is no way in hell that Apple would ask Sony for help now. Okay, that was so much easier than the last one. This is such a massive jump from the Macintosh Portable. And this is such a cool feature. It has built-in retractable stands on the side. And you can see, this is where the idea of putting the trackball in the center of the chassis was actually introduced. More importantly, let's see what you can do with it. Wow. Welcome to Macintosh, it says. Our machine has quite majestic, gentle whirring to it. I actually really don't mind controlling it with a trackball either. It's surprisingly precise. There's just quite a lot of screen ghosting as you move around. A little bit less fun to type on for sure. Oh, but this is cool. Look, you've got dials to manually mess with contrast and brightness. That's ironically so much faster than it is to do now. Look on the Apple. System software 7.0.1. They used to call the bin the waste basket. No way. And when you close an app, it does a little poof out of existence. Now, this generation wasn't some sort of next level power jump, but they managed to cram in the same processor and 2 to 4 times the RAM into a body a fraction of the size. That was the achievement. Not to mention that by making the machine so much more efficiently, they could cut the price from what was $18,000 in today's money to just $5,000. Within just the first generation of PowerBooks, Apple was selling in the hundreds of thousands, and the hype was starting to build. So, what Apple really had to do was to capitalize on that excitement. They had to take what people really liked about the PowerBook and double down on it, which is what led us to the PowerBook 500. It is hard to articulate just how much of a leap this thing is. It feels so much more pro. Actually, the hinge has held up surprisingly well over the years. They've done a cool job making the keyboard edgeless. That's what it looks like on the inside. Every one has had a different boot-up sound so far. This is where they got rid of the trackball. Balls. No, I can't say that. Got a trackpad here. A tiny one at that. Look at this load-up screen. Unbelievable. You can see all the circuitry behind. Apple wouldn't dare put that in now. Keyboard's a little springy. Oh. Did that just die on us? R.I.P.
Welcome to Apple. How can I help you today?
My PowerBook 500 is dead. I need to speak with a person.
Hang on just a second while I transfer you.
How can we help you today? My laptop is dead.
Oh, a MacBook Air, MacBook Pro? Which one?
No, it's a PowerBook 520C. I've tried batteries, I've tried power supplies, it's just not booting. It literally died in front of me.
Yeah, at this point, there's nothing serviceable with it.
So it's not under warranty.
Not at 1994. Warranty usually runs 1 year.
I think I bought extended.
Yeah, our extended warranty can run up to 2 years.
That's incredibly helpful, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Right. What? He was surprisingly attentive. I thought he was going to hang up on me. What I find kind of crazy about this is that Apple designed this computer specifically with upgradability in mind. They didn't mount the CPU on the main motherboard, but instead a whole set of daughter boards that you could just swap out. I mean, compare that to Apple now. I guess when you're the underdog, you want to do everything you can to show how pro-consumer you are. This was a time when Apple did need to prove themselves. But to be fair, I don't imagine that the vast majority would even be upgrading, considering that this thing's power was up to 3 times the 100s. And that in the early days of computers, that's really all it was about. The entire computer race was not about having the super differentiated, super advanced softwares that we have now. It was basically just a competition to see who could get the highest number in performance. Apple did a couple of refreshed versions of these laptops over the next couple of years. The next proper game changer came 3 years after the 500 with the PowerBook G3 in 1997. So at least at this point, I have been born. And this might well be the most excitement that's ever existed for an Apple computer, mostly thanks to what it's powered by. As their market power and their scale start to grow, Apple was no longer going to settle for just using an off-the-shelf Motorola chip. And so decided to form an alliance with them and IBM to produce a series of chips called PowerPC. And this machine was its first mainstream debut. This was the fastest laptop in the world, and it wasn't even close. We're talking 250 to 500 megahertz chips, while also doubling the previous generation's RAM up to a behoosive 32 megabytes. But something interesting was also happening within Apple around this time. So Steve Jobs, the guy who founded the company and who was responsible for a lot of its early success, basically got kicked out because of a massive disagreement with the board of directors. But 1997 is when he returned as CEO. And when he came back, he wasn't happy with what the company had done, and he started making a lot of changes very quickly. You could even see it happening in real time, watching the PowerBook G3s progress with each revision of them, to the point where by the time Apple released the final G3 PowerBooks, the top-of-the-line so-called Wall Street G3s at $7,300 in today's money, they looked so different. Unexpectedly weighty, this one. Just doesn't look like a MacBook. The fact that the screen is so expansive and the bezel so small, it does feel very high-end. It's still very much the laptop that's trying to do everything. I kind of wish modern MacBooks had a bit of curvature on it. It makes it way nicer for your palms. There we go. That's the modern Apple sound. So they finally stuck with something. You can tell this is the computer to buy for bragging rights. Oh, this is the old school Apple Beach Ball for the loading. It's such a nice screen in comparison. Internet Explorer. We're talking about a time when Safari was just going to see the elephants. I like a watch for a loading icon. Ah, Adobe Photoshop 6.0. Actually starts up faster than the current one does. The Apple logo in the corner is the shiny, colorful one. Oh, remember iTunes. Sounds pretty good. I guess the perfect example to show the transition phase that Apple was in was you got the old school multicolored Apple logo on the inside and then the blue white logo on the outside. But to properly see Steve Jobs in full force, you only need to look at what came next. iBook. From 1997 onwards, Steve Jobs was the CEO, and he appointed a man called Johnny Ive as the design lead for iPhones. And this is where you notice Apple's designs start to separate from the more generic laptop designs that other companies were using. So the iBook was Apple realizing that, while of course they could make a ton of money selling top-of-the-line PowerBooks to investment bankers, they also needed to offer something that a teacher or a student could afford. So this Barbie toilet seat of a laptop was just $3,000. It was Apple's most affordable laptop ever. If you take a shot of me on the toilet with this, I really wish more laptops were this experimental. Every single key is transparent. You can see the mechanism underneath it. Very interesting looking mouse buttons as well. Okay, buzz into life. So this is macOS version 10. And that's taken it a big leap forward to what we have today. You can see the skeletons, the foundations of those features from the very, very early machines. Kind of like they knew what they wanted to build and very, very slowly got there. All the icons are three-dimensional. Everything has its own inner and outer shadow and reflections. Very pleasant to look at. Chess. I used to play the odd game of chess in my time, but I'm pretty sure the game has just crashed. I'm just scared. Facing my England chess team player. This thing was actually quite a big deal. It was also the first mass-consumer product to offer Wi-Fi network connectivity, which was then branded by Apple as Airport Wireless Networking. This was a big deal. And the way it was demoed to the audience for the very first time will probably go down in the history books. Listen to the audience. Steve Jobs shows this off by passing the laptop to a clean room. Really clarify to people that it was, yes, wireless. Impressive enough to earn the iBook the #1 spot in the US portable consumer market. For a while after launch, Apple did make a number of updates to the iBook over the years, but what I think is even more interesting is what Apple did. At this point, Apple very clearly understood that they wanted to make both mid-range machines and super high-end machines. How do you make something that a pro would be willing to spend $6,000 in today's money on? Well, get out of titanium. In a way that someone could just take one look at and instantly know that whoever's using it is a high flyer. This, PowerBook G4. And it's the first time Apple properly experimented with metal in the body. Safe to say it worked. Oh, the metal makes such a difference. Not even really a hint of it. Oh, they finally integrated the mouse buttons into the trackpad module for a really nice even border around the screen. You kind of see it start to resemble the modern day laptop. I'm pretty sure the bezels here are smaller than they are on some of the most recent ones. The screen's pretty sharp too. I'm kind of judging that because I can actually tell that the apple in the corner is an apple. I never thought I'd see the day where you can actually see screens on an Apple laptop. I guess you could say modern day Apple prioritizes form over everything else, whereas this very much feels functional, even if it's not the prettiest. Oh yeah, and the PowerPC G4 chipset basically doubles the performance yet again. We're getting to crazy numbers here. And Apple was doing well now. They were making better computers faster, and faster computers better. And sales were trickling up as a result. But there was still a higher ceiling that Apple hadn't quite cracked yet. And this is where the MacBook came from. Steve Jobs strolled on stage in 2006 and basically said, "We're kind of done with power." Meaning that while, of course, Apple laptops would continue to get more powerful, they didn't want power to be the focus. Since the PowerBook brand was created while Steve Jobs was out of the company, this was his chance for a fresh start. He wanted the Mac brand that he'd first established to be the front and center, and for it to represent not just power, but just the overall quality of the experience. So, they released 2 forms of laptop in a single year, MacBook and MacBook Pro. Even the base MacBook is so nice. They swapped out the standard charging cable for MagSafe, they added in a webcam that they labeled as the iSight camera, and they swapped out the PowerPC processors for Intel Core Duo CPUs, blaming their partner IBM for being sloppy and not making the chips power efficient enough. Although, this is kind of funny, because the entire time Apple was using PowerPC chips, they would just release teaser after teaser, poking fun at how much worse Intel was, until they switched to Intel, at which point they changed their tune to,
"This is hard to believe, but this is what the numbers tell us. 4 to 5 times faster than the PowerBook G4. These things are screamers.
Or in other words, if we are 4 times more powerful than last gen, we're already at 192 times the power of the original. And we've still got over 15 years left to go till now. And all of this is super impressive, considering that this is just $1,700 in today's money. Even more affordable by far than even the iBook was. This laptop for me brings back so many memories. This is the one we'd have in the school music halls. I know it's all made out of plastic, but it still feels quite high end. This is Gen 1 of Maxi. Nope. It's almost like it's trying to resume from a past state. Whoa. Don't put that on. Stop recording. Fans are really kicking up a fuss today. This wallpaper was iconic. Oh, you got the dock that now hides underneath. I wonder if this has the same GarageBand we used to use. This is exactly how I remember it. I used to spend so much time just prattling around, making loops of my own, just adding far too many instruments in and just seeing how it sounded. For me, this was the first fun computer I used. You need to see what the first MacBook webcam actually looked like. Hey! That was actually surprising. It's a bit laggy, but it's good quality. We're talking about a time when they still used to call it video conferencing. And then MacBook Pro, which keeps the same Intel Core Duo, but it's more the quality of everything. The metal body, the fact that it has a 1450 by 900 HD display. It's actually really similar looking to the PowerBook. I like the LED light on the latch though. Fun fact, this is actually the last Apple laptop to have a latch. Steve Jobs apparently didn't like them. I really like the silver keyboard, it feels very slick. Ooh. The first personal video conferencing system that makes it easy to keep in touch with friends. Password, Astley16. This is such a throwback. HiChat can't communicate with the account rigged. RIP. They even made a 17-inch version of the Pro, which is an absolute beast. It used to give you this desktop class experience with even more room for an even bigger battery inside. There's no doubt that the 2000s was the decade where Apple made the biggest impact on the laptop market, because just 2 years after that, at the start of 2008, they would release what would become the best-selling laptop in the world. This is probably one of the top 3 Apple moments of all time. Steve Jobs brought a paper envelope with him for the moment, he put it down on a stand, and revealed to the world the MacBook Air. A laptop that changed the entire paradigm of what to expect from the thinness of a computer. Only then to proceed to take the MacBook Air itself out of this paper envelope. Just listen to the ground. And then this presentation was basically round of applause after round of applause, as he proceeded to show people that this laptop, half the size of anything else, still had the entirety of the previous MacBook's core features. A powerful Intel Core 2 Duo, full-size keyboard, and a metal construction that Apple had previously saved exclusively for its luxury lineup. I mean, it wasn't cheap by any means, but you can totally see how if this was your reference point, how desirable this form factor is. It's so nice to finally hold a laptop that isn't a workout. This is where they first introduced the multi-touch trackpad, which I would say made a big difference to how intuitive it was to use macOS. I use gestures a lot nowadays. You can totally see how this took people aback at the time. And in the very same year, the company also released the Unibody MacBook. So this is the successor to the classic MacBook from 2006, and somehow managed to even beat the MacBook Air in sales. Unibody, or at least what Apple means by unibody, is that the entire laptop is just 2 pieces. The entire body is 1 piece, the screen is a second. There's no plastic supporting frames, and the entire thing is made out of metal, so it naturally conducts heat out of the laptop. Plus, environmentally friendly. They used this redesign as an opportunity to get rid of chemicals like arsenic and mercury, and now that the laptops were so simply structured, they all of a sudden became almost completely recyclable. This is dirty. I like it. It's definitely the most solid feeling MacBook so far. The screen is so bright. I'm used to squinting. The webcam might actually be slightly worse though, but the laptop is noticeably faster. Oh goodness, this browser is no longer supported. Oh, Apple.com works fine. Well, not really fine. What the hell? No one supports tech this old. You can see why this iteration was the best-selling MacBook in history. A lot of people call this the first proper MacBook, because it now has a completely new design that separates it from the PowerBook lineup, the design language that the company's finally settled on. It does also feel like this is the point where Apple realized that, while yes, lots of different kinds of people buy MacBooks, the core market is creators, photo editors, 3D modelers, and these people also needed proper graphics. So, Apple started a partnership with NVIDIA and kitted out the machine with something a little bit more substantial, pushing it to 2 times more powerful than even the 2006 MacBook. It became very clear very quickly with the sales numbers that Apple had smashed it with this design, which is probably why they gave it the standard spec bumps over the years as they do, but that they didn't change the core concept for a while. But they did realize something else, that now that they had the MacBook Air that was catering to the casual user who just wanted to type documents, they didn't really need the middle of the pack book. So from 2009 onwards, they decided to just rebrand this MacBook as the MacBook Pro and improve the specs a little bit. As you do. The next proper title change only happened in 2012, when Apple decided that this current MacBook wasn't quite enough. While it was pretty high-end, because the core design was initially conceived as a mid-range laptop, it just didn't appeal to people at the very top end who wanted something that was purely cutting-edge. So they launched the world's highest resolution notebook on the market, MacBook Pro with Retina display. Now, Apple have had Retina display for 2 years already at this point on their phones, so this wasn't some sort of unheard-of concept. But Retina display for a laptop is a little bit different than Retina display for a phone. For a smartphone to have a display for which your eyes can't see individual pixels, you might need a 960 by 480 resolution or so. But to have that same sharpness across a 15-inch laptop, it has to be 2880 by 1800 resolution. Considering it's a flagship, this is a surprisingly thin laptop. Maybe as thin as the MacBook Air. Oh, the screen is so much better. It's a night and day difference. The logo lights up, which I really like, but is a horrible waste of battery. Apparently, it used to leave a subtle hotspot of light bleeding into the actual display, which, funnily enough, this wallpaper might have actually been fixed to hide. Apple's made a lot of refinements here. The trackpad feels smoother than ever. They've integrated the mouse clicks and they feel firm. Keyboard probably peaked here, to be honest. It's better than my current one. Let's have a look at Apple's YouTube channel. 16.9 million. We are actually not as far off as I thought we were. Apple is a company that spends billions of dollars every year making these trailers and promoting them. There are only 3 million subscribers more than that. Our entire team is 8 people. Apple probably has 800 people just to sweep their floors. Okay, this has to be a challenge. Editors, make this serious. 2023, this is the year where we overtake Apple. This is the year 8 of us and all of you guys, we come together and we overtake the most subscribed tech company on the planet. And a sub to the channel would be magnificent. That's my audio recorder. Also, what's quite cool is that by this point, Intel had diversified its lineup of chips. It wasn't just about the Core 2 Duo anymore. They had the Intel Core i3, the i5, and i7s. And so naturally, you could get this thing all the way up to the top-tier quad-core Intel i7, which, when combined with the GeForce GT 650M graphics, makes it, well, a big jump. Between 10 and 15 times better at modern tasks than the 2008 MacBook, which is crazy. We are 3,840 times the OG machine right now. Apple was on a roll in 2012. The Mac had been growing every single year in sales, but it was at this point that they made some odd decisions. Like in 2015 with the MacBook. Yeah, I know. Completely different laptop, but they've still somehow managed to just call it MacBook. The naming convention makes absolutely zero sense. I've touched so many thick ones today. I can't believe how thin this is. It's literally like it's barely there. There's actually so much to like about this computer. It's got a 12-inch proper Retina display. It's got a keyboard that, by no means is this like a typewriter-like experience, but they've not done a bad job considering how little space the keys actually have to travel. And also, they've given this trackpad Force Touch, or 2 different levels of pressure that it can respond to. I have the Beefmaster. Oh, I forgot how heavy this was. 1989? 2015. Incredible. You can tell that they were trying to go for that same envelope reaction that the Air first created. If this laptop did well, Apple wanted it to be the successor to the Air, and they priced it more affordably than just about any Apple laptop before. It didn't. This was too fast, too soon to just drop all the ports down to USB-C. They lost full-size USB, and they lost the MagSafe charging. Plus, part of the reason that the thing is so thin is because it's completely fanless. But to achieve that, they had to use an ultra-low-power Intel 4M chip, and actually noticeably sacrifice performance, unlike the Air. It was just an unnecessary machine, and people still kept buying the Air even when this was out. So it wasn't doing a very good job replacing it, and one day Apple just decided to snap it out of existence. And then back-to-back with this, Apple fudged it again with the MacBook Pro with Touch Bar. They pitched it as a revolutionary new input device. And credit where due, it probably could have been one, since it does solve the problem of normal keyboard keys being fixed. By digitizing them, you make those keys whatever you want them to be in any given moment. It definitely feels futuristic compared to what it's come from. And given that they combined this with the introduction of a fingerprint scanner and a 50% larger trackpad, I can't have been the only one who saw this get announced and thought, okay. You have my attention. Actually, I know I'm not the only one because this is the laptop that had more online orders than any other MacBook Pro before. And I remember the outrage when people realized they'd removed every single port but the USB-Cs and the headphone jack. It's allowed them to keep it streamlined, but yeah, clearly it was a mistake, considering that they added them all back a couple of years later. The Touch Bar was such a love-hate relationship that I have with this laptop. It's very cool and very fun. Plus, you could actually customize it the way that you wanted it, which obviously you can't do with hardwired keys. But in my experience, it also introduced a whole other level of software that could go wrong. There were at least 2 or 3 times where my whole laptop was working fine, but it's just I couldn't adjust any of my settings because the touch bar bugged out. Oh, and I love the fact that the trackpad is so ridiculously huge. It's also using a much newer quad-core Intel i7 and a much newer Radeon 450 graphics. It's still nothing on the extreme end yet, but just by being newer, we're still 60% faster than the last set. But yeah, the touch bar just didn't really vibe with people. Apple's not usually one to introduce features and then kill them off so quickly, but the truth of it is, A, a lot of pro users want to be able to physically smack their keys while they're typing at 3,000 words per second, and this just doesn't feel the same. And B, while this could be a genuine feature add, it's one extra thing that Apple and other developers need to code for. And who's going to make their app slightly better for such a tiny fraction of the total laptop market? You won't believe what Apple's response was. Their next big flagship Pro MacBook to make up for this mistake and push the boundaries out in the right direction. The MacBook Pro 16-inch. I kid you not, the last model was 15.4. They've already had 17 in the past, but no, what makes this one special is the fact that it's 16.2 inches. I'm half joking. Obviously, I did want to see something a little more experimental and exciting, but I think this was Apple realizing that in the pro user space, people don't want gimmicks. People want all the core features, and they want them to all work really well. This was pretty well-reviewed laptop. At this point, people have got used to the quirks, like the touch bar and the lack of ports, but this was quite a substantial upgrade in other ways, like the fact that it has a proper 6-speaker sound system, although the webcam was still 720p, which is poor in 2019. Over the years, the cheapest laptop Apple offers has just become more and more affordable, with you now being able to get one for like $999. But the 16-inch Pro feels like where Apple drew a very clear line to definitively separate the Pro laptops in price, with this thing starting at $2,800 in today's money and going all the way up to $7,200 when maxed out. But what they did do for that was to make absolute sure to nail the fundamentals. So you could get this thing all the way up to 64 gigabytes of RAM, 8 terabytes of fast SSD storage, and now not just a quad-core Intel Core i7, but the brand new top-of-the-line octa-core Intel i9. The graphics were still meh, but as a package, we're now looking at a further 40% speed bump. Now, as solid and reliable as these laptops were, it's definitely starting to feel like the entire laptop market had matured, and that all the high-end laptops, no matter which company you got them from, were basically the same in terms of the performance, the parts used, the battery life, until Apple launched M1. The company held an event in 2020 where they officially explained that they were about to start moving away from Intel and transitioning to Apple-made M-series chips. Chips that were not necessarily beefier than their Intel counterparts, but smarter. They use neural networks. They can solve problems efficiently, and because they originated from mobile chip architecture, where power constraints are a real problem, in the laptop world, the battery life claims were off the charts. And they started this transition with a Mac Mini, a MacBook Air, and a MacBook Pro, all powered by M1. This was never meant to be the real Pro MacBook. That actually came 1 year later, the M1 Max. And this announcement event really was something. I remember watching it like, okay, seems cool. And then they showed the charts. At least according to Apple, this M1 Max chip was not like 20% faster than last year's Intel chips, but like many times more powerful. Not to mention 13 times faster when it comes to graphics. Although that is compared to the integrated graphics within Intel's chip, as opposed to the dedicated graphics that Apple used to put into some of their laptops. What's interesting is that if you run an actual benchmark, it'll tell you that M1 Max is no more powerful than the last gen, but it feels way faster. This is the laptop that I still use every single day because everything just happens so quickly. And anytime I want to add a bit of music to our videos or do a little passive sound effects, this laptop is so optimized for Apple's own apps that for me, with Final Cut Pro, it just flies. Like I would struggle to get it to lag. Whereas literally the Intel laptop that I used just one generation prior, it would slow down, the fans would go haywire, and it would just get really, really hot. Like I could actually potentially burn myself on it. Oh, and also the webcam is finally 1080p at least. I still don't love the fact that it's a notch display. In the world of hole-punch cameras, I really don't see why it needs to be. But at least the rest of the screen is very much bezel-less. They call the screen XDR now, which stands for Extreme Dynamic Range. Oh, and they've updated this again recently with the M2 Max MacBook, which has even longer battery life, newer updated ports and internet speeds, and the M2 Max itself is a full-on 30% improvement over the M1 Max. It's not a huge exterior redesign. It's only really when we go back to looking at where we started, the real differences start to emerge. From 7.2 kilograms to 2.16, from 256,000 total pixels to 7.7 million, and most impressively, a total power jump of, your last minute guesses in, approximately 11,000 times. See, the last time I emptied my entire bank account buying every single Xbox ever, that's here. Oh, no, wow. Pump it up. Oh, nice.
Simon says, upgrade. Again.
What's new?
Who cares? No, 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 no.
Simon says, limit your choices.
Solo tienes manzanas. You only have apples.
Yes.
No, no, no. Gracias.
Simon says, a lot of things. Samsung says, do your own thing.
Oh boy. I think I may have bit off too much this time. So, okay. As an animator, I always find it fascinating to look at the entire span of a franchise's history and watch how the character animation evolves from game to game. It's a fun exercise. I recommend it. You get to study a bunch of animation, you learn a little game animation history along the way, and you enjoy a nostalgia trip in the process. Why do I bring this up? Well, because Sonic the Hedgehog is going to turn 30 this year. Yeah, our little speed boy is about to start experiencing the joys of back pain and actually feeling hangovers in the morning. So hey, I thought to myself, this ridiculous hedgehog has one of the wildest histories in all of gaming. Why don't I play all of the Sonic games and see which ones have the best animation? That could be fun. Turns out I was wrong about that last thing, but the point is, I did it. Now, if you ask 5 different fans which of the Sonic games are good or bad, you are likely to get 5 different answers. But most of us can at least agree that the Sonic franchise is a quality roller coaster, yeah? Well, here's the fun thing. The animation quality in those games is also kind of a roller coaster. But it turns out these roller coasters are very much not in sync. But which Sonic games have the best animation? Which have the worst? And what is it that makes for good animation in a Sonic game? Let's find out together, because I'll be darned if I'm going through this alone. Welcome to New Frame Plus. Now, before we set off on this journey, let me establish some ground rules. 1. We are only sticking to the mainline Sonic platformer and action games here. So, no racing spin-offs, no Olympics, no Smash Brothers, no weird arcade games where Sonic is a cop, which is real, by the way. No, this is already going to be my longest episode ever, by far. Let's try to keep this under control. 2. To simplify things just a little further, I'm also limiting this list to games which were released on a home console at some point. So, no handheld exclusives. Fascinating though it would be to dig into that one time BioWare made a Sonic RPG, I've been working on this video for like 5 months now, and I'd love for it to be done someday. And 3, as always, remember that just because a game is old doesn't mean it can't have good animation. Nor is bad animation in an older game simply bad because the game is old. Don't make me tap the sign. But okay, I think that's it. We have 25 Sonic games to look at, so take my lead. I'll set you free. Follow me! See, now this right here is a heck of a start. Yes, it is primitive by today's standards, but the animation in this game is still great. For one thing, despite being like 40 pixels tall, 16-bit Sonic is expressive. Look at that confident idle stance. Or the surprise on his face when he's swept down a hill by water. Or, and I know everybody brings this up, but the way he will get impatient with you if you leave him standing around for too long. Even the basic meat and potatoes animations, like running, skidding to a stop, pushing blocks, every frame of these animations is taking full advantage of the inherent appeal of Sonic's character design, emphasizing his current emotional state and reinforcing the depiction of this character as cool and confident and just adorable. And that expressiveness is kind of a big deal. This is Sonic's first game, and I would argue he's already demonstrating more animated personality than Mario had in any of his games to this point. For this brief window of time, Sega has indeed done what Nintendo did. But all this characterization isn't the only reason Sonic 1's animation is so good. In addition to all that, Sonic's animation is also incredibly functional. You see, character animation is an enormous contributor when it comes to how a game feels. It provides visual feedback for our inputs, and it helps us to intuit how things in the game work. And Sonic's character animation is great at conveying the mechanics of his locomotion. For example, the thing that makes Sonic platforming unique is the way it's built around momentum, right? It takes time for Sonic to accelerate to full speed, and his animation reflects that by being broken up into distinct phases. When you first start Sonic moving, he'll kick off with this jog, which is a 6-frame cycle. As you start picking up speed, that jog cycle loops faster. Then, once you finally reach Sonic's full running speed, he switches to a completely new 4-frame cycle where his feet become a spinning blur. And notice how the initial jog cycle feels like it's taking some effort. Sonic is pumping his arms, and you can see some vertical movement on his body with each step, very much like actual jogging. But then, once he hits top speed, his arms tuck into his sides, that vertical motion disappears, and his run becomes smooth and seemingly effortless to maintain, like he's coasting. The animation is helping to reinforce the fact that this speed is where you want to be, but it's going to take a little time and effort to get there. And if you try to stop or turn around, this skidding animation emphasizes the effort it takes just to slow Sonic down. Again, visually reinforcing the momentum thing. One of the other unique properties of Sonic platforming is the way you have to factor in the angle of the ground beneath you. You can use slopes to gain speed or verticality, and the angle of the slope you're standing on can significantly affect the arc of your jumps. So, in order to make this functionality clearer, all of Sonic's run cycles have these rotated variants, visually demonstrating that, yes, Sonic is absolutely built to traverse the environment this way, and you do need to take the slope of the ground into account when maneuvering. Sonic's handling may have a bit of a learning curve, but the character animation helps a great deal with that learning process, telegraphing all of the functional information you need to know about how Sonic's movement works. The animation helps to make this momentum-based navigation feel intuitive. And I know a lot of this stuff might seem self-explanatory, but the fact that it all does feel so obvious when you just look at Sonic in motion is a testament to how well Sonic Team designed this moveset. In terms of animation quality, this is a fantastic start for the series, and Sonic Team would build on that success in the sequel, but before we jump to that, we need to take a little detour. Because, you see, in addition to the Genesis games, Sega did develop a handful of Sonic titles for the Game Gear, and several of those games also happens to release on Sega's previous home console, the Master System, which means, according to my arbitrary but infallible rules, that I have to include them. But that's alright, because the animation in these is also pretty good. First of them, less than a year after the release of Sonic the Hedgehog, it's Sonic the Hedgehog, but 8-bit this time. Now, obviously, we are looking at a downgrade in hardware power. The Master System had access to a much smaller color palette than the Genesis, so we've lost some character sprite detail. They've also had to cut those rotated variant run cycles for sloped surfaces, although the slopes do still impact your movement. And there have been some other small omissions like ledge teetering and block pushing, but otherwise this 8-bit Sonic can do almost all the same stuff as he could on the Genesis. The acceleration and skidding to a stop, the rolling, the spring jumping and running in midair, these animations may be simplified, but they're all still in there. And what's more, so is the personality. Despite all the downgrades, Sonic's character appeal and attitude are still coming through loud and clear. Almost everything that worked about the animation in the 16-bit original still works here, and considering the limitations, that's kind of amazing. And the sequel to this does even better. Still on the Master System, still 8-bit, and a lot of the animations from the previous game are basically unchanged aside from some color tweaks. But there are some noteworthy additions. For one, Sonic has a brand new version of the board animation when you leave him idle too long. And I don't think we would see this particular fidget come back later in the series, at least not on Sonic, but I kind of love it. It's like, are we gonna go? I can't do it by myself. Like, I can't do it. And now 8-bit Sonic can teeter on ledges, just like the Genesis version. And they've sort of made the rotated run cycles work, if only in these loops. Like, it's not a great game, as 2D Sonics go, but in terms of animation, this does quite a bit to close the gap between Sonic's 8 and 16-bit incarnations. Plus, hey, first sighting of Tails, that's fun. I mean, he's not playable yet, but he will be. Speaking of which... Everything about Sonic 1's animation was already working, so rather than reinventing the wheel, the Genesis sequels are all about building on that foundation and expanding scope. So, in addition to some subtle adjustments to his design, this iteration of Sonic also gets a bunch of new moves, and my favorite of these is easily the Spin Dash. This looks awesome. You've got that tilt emphasizing Sonic's direction, like a cartoon tire peeling out. You've got the dust billowing behind. It's just fantastic. And Sonic can also now run through these corkscrew things. They use the same animation when Sonic hits these springboards, and it looks so good. It's the first of these new animations to start suggesting more three-dimensional shape on this 2D character, which they're going to be doing more and more the further we go. Plus, Sonic's board fidget has been extended with new stages where he checks his watch and eventually flops down on the ground to chill while you finish whatever's so darned important. Also, and I love this, Sonic has not one, not two, but 3 ledge teetering animations. One for if you're facing the ledge, one for if you're facing away from the ledge, and a third for if you're really about to fall off that ledge. Superfluous? Yeah, probably, but come on, 3 animations for that. But perhaps even more noteworthy than all the new things Sonic can do is the fact that Sonic 2 introduces a second playable character. Now, Tails' animation set might be a bit less robust than Sonic's. This poor kid only gets 1 teeter animation to call his own, but give him a break, it's his first day and he's very small. But the important thing is that even though his moveset and handling are mostly the same as Sonic's, the aesthetic look of his locomotion is very different. Tails has this tottering, kid-like quality to his run that feels completely unlike Sonic's more confident stride. And when he gets bored standing there too long, he does a little yawn, because he's little and he's sleepy. It really drives home just how much personality Sonic Team is infusing these animations with, that these 2 characters can handle mostly the same and still look so different doing it. Sonic 2's animation is just a straight-up improvement in pretty much every single way. So how do you improve on that?
Wait, you did?
Now this one's an interesting case, because it's sort of a side play, developed by a different team than the folks behind Sonic 2.
Alright, everyone, that'll be it for today's...
additions in
Oh,
here,
hold on.
animation-wise, but also a few notable losses. Let me show you what I mean. First off, Sonic's character sprite is back to the design
Alright,
of
everyone,
Sonic 1,
that will
which
be
is
it for
fine
today.
because the differences
See
between the
you
two are
all
nearly imperceptible, but it's
later.
not just the design change. We've also lost most of the great new animations that Sonic 2 had,
Bye.
and that part's a bummer.
Alright,
The
hold on.
corkscrew run is gone. Those new board fidgets where he checks his watch and lays down are gone. Though I guess Sonic